Something has shifted, and not quietly. Not slowly. Not with discussion or debate. This change arrived like a jolt, a sudden turn in the middle of the night. And today, every Canadian business, every policymaker, and every ordinary citizen is stepping into a new reality, without even realizing it. Because according to Mark Carney, one of the sharpest economic minds Canada has ever produced, U.S. trade policy has just undergone a radical overnight transformation, a transformation so deep, so sudden, and so unpredictable that it could reshape Canada's future for years to come. But what exactly changed? Why did it happen? And why is Mark Carney the one stepping forward to warn the country? For months, subtle but alarming signals had been emerging from Washington. Behind closed doors, American policymakers were quietly rewriting the rules of global trade. Tariffs appearing out of nowhere. Agreements being reconsidered without explanation. Long-standing norms being thrown aside in favor of raw political pressure. Something was happening beneath the surface, something that didn't match America's old, predictable economic strategy. Most analysts brushed it off. Most politicians stayed silent. But Mark Carney saw a pattern others completely missed. Carney, a man who has led central banks on 2 continents, a man who helped steer Canada out of the 2008 global financial crisis, a man respected internationally for his calm insight during global uncertainty, he saw what others refused to see. And when he finally spoke, his message was simple, but shocking. The United States has fundamentally changed its trade strategy, and Canada is not prepared for what comes next. This wasn't political drama. This wasn't media noise. This was a warning from one of the only leaders in this country who truly understands the global economic chessboard. Carney revealed that America's new strategy is built on 3 silent moves, moves that were executed without consultation, without warning, and without hesitation. First, the U.S. is no longer interested in partnership for the sake of partnership. They will engage only when it benefits them directly, and walk away the moment it doesn't. Second, economic pressure has become a political weapon. Tariffs, sanctions, and trade restrictions are no longer about economics. They're about influence, leverage, and control. And third, allies are no longer seen as allies. Countries like Canada are being evaluated not based on history or loyalty, but on immediate usefulness. This is the world Canada has woken up to. A world where agreements don't guarantee stability. A world where predictability has evaporated. A world where Canada can no longer afford to assume the United States will act as the steady partner it once was. For decades, Canada built its economy around one central truth: the United States would remain a stable, reliable force in global trade. That truth is now gone. And Carney is urging Canada to wake up to that reality before it's too late. Because this sudden shift puts several of Canada's most important industries at real risk. Energy, automotive, agriculture, manufacturing, technology, natural resources, every one of them depends on cross-border stability. And every one of them is now vulnerable to sudden U.S. policy swings that could come without warning, without negotiation, and without any concern for Canada's position. But the danger isn't just economic. Carney believes this moment represents a deeper test, a test of Canada's confidence, its independence, and its willingness to protect its own interests. He warns that if Canada continues relying on assumptions from the past, we may soon find ourselves reacting to events we should have been prepared for long before they arrived. Carney isn't sounding the alarm to create fear. He's sounding it to create preparation. He believes Canada has the talent, the resources, and the leadership to navigate this moment, but only if we recognize the urgency of the situation. Carney argues that Canada must become more proactive, more strategic, and more independent than it has been in decades. We can no longer rely on old playbooks, old assumptions, or old partnerships. The world is shifting too quickly. America is acting too unpredictably. And Canada must adapt or be left behind. Carney stresses that diversification is no longer optional, it's necessary. Canada needs stronger alliances beyond the US. It needs new markets, new trade routes, and new economic strategies that don't depend on one neighbor's political climate. He believes Canada must negotiate from strength, not dependency. From confidence, not fear. And he believes that future economic stability will only come if Canada finally recognizes its own potential instead of relying on the shadow of a superpower. To make matters more urgent, Carney points to a global landscape that is already unstable. Conflicts rising. Supply chains under pressure. Countries turning inward to protect themselves. In moments like this, nations that fail to prepare are the ones that pay the highest price. Carney sees Canada at a crossroads, one path leading to resilience and independence, the other to vulnerability and reaction. Canada has the resources to thrive. It has the workforce, the stability, the innovation, and the global respect. But it needs leadership willing to admit that the old world is gone. What makes Carney's warning even more dramatic is that he isn't just describing policy changes, he's describing a shift in mindset, a shift in how America sees its allies, and how it sees Canada. And that shift is what could define the next decade. Will Canada control its own economic future? Or will Canada find itself reacting to decisions made entirely in Washington? Carney is urging Canadians to choose the first path. He wants the country to be bold. He wants leaders to be strategic. He wants unity, planning, and action, because the stakes are simply too high. If Canada doesn't adapt, it will fall behind. If Canada doesn't prepare, it will be blindsided. If Canada doesn't lead, it will be led by forces outside its control. In the end, Carney's message isn't a prediction of doom. It's a call to action. A call for Canada to rethink its role in the world. A call to build resilience in a time of global volatility. A call to prepare for a new era where the United States is no longer the predictable partner we once counted on. Carney believes Canada can rise to this challenge. He believes the country has the intelligence, the leadership, and the determination to navigate this moment. But he also knows the window is closing. When a superpower shifts overnight, every other nation must choose how it responds. And Canada's response will define its future. This is not fear. This is not speculation. This is not politics. This is reality. A new reality that demands new thinking, new leadership, and new courage. And Carney is telling Canada exactly what it needs to hear, before the rest of the world realizes what just happened.